Discovering OCD and anxiety's impact on students. The problem that I'm trying to solve is OCD and anxiety preventing students from getting their work done. Because this is a research project, I don't have a physical solution to show, but I did take many steps to kind of just gain a better understanding about this topic and also an idea for a solution. The first step was research. I looked at many different primary sources as well as articles to gain a background knowledge about this topic. And the biggest takeaway I got from all that was cognitive behavioral therapy. And some background before we get into that, really quick. If you look at this diagram, it shows the human thought process. It shows how thoughts turn into feelings, which turn into behaviors. And this goes the same for negative thoughts. Negative thoughts can turn into negative feelings, which can manifest themselves into negative behaviors. Um, this is especially true and relevant if you are dealing with OCD because these bad or negative behaviors can become obsessive and repetitive. And that is where cognitive behavioral therapy comes in because it forces you to be mindful of the thoughts that are coming through your head. And also, by doing that, not you're fighting the urge to control the thoughts that come into your head, which is a big thing that people deal with anxiety and OCD. It's the urge to control your thoughts. And so cognitive behavioral therapy allows you to kind of just let the thoughts pass by and break this cycle of negative behaviors. The second step was interviewing. I interviewed a couple of experts, one being Miss Fry, the other being Miss Julie. Miss Julie had been very vocal about her own experience with OCD, and while experiencing it, she said that it is important to confront your bad habits and identify when and why they occur. This allows us to move forward. So, this is very true. Identifying when or why they occur is kind of like the first step you need to take when kind of dealing with your anxieties and negative thoughts, because this allows you, like she said, to move forward and kind of implement the coping skills into your life. Also, from doing interviews with peers as well as the experts, the big takeaways I got from that are big three things to combat your negative thoughts. The first one being breathing. When you're caught up in your anxious thoughts, it's really easy to panic, and breathing really helps you to calm down as well as ground yourself, which brings us to the next thing, which is grounding, more specifically, grounding exercises. So, this basically means an example of a popular grounding exercise would be noticing the things around you. So, naming three things you can see, three things you can hear, three things you can smell. Um, like I said, this is really important to be present. It helps you. Being present is just important because when you're dealing with anxieties, you're normally worried about things that have already happened in the past or things that you're anticipating in the future. So grounding is definitely something that can help you to stay in the present. And the final thing was compassion with yourself, because when you're hearing about all these different things that you know you should be implementing in your life, and you're kind of finding yourself to be going back to what you know, which is these bad habits, it's really easy to get frustrated, but that would only be counterproductive. And so it's definitely important to, have self-compassion and go easier on yourself. This third and final step that I've taken is building off the knowledge that I've gained so far. And I will talk about this more in my plan. So, the target audience for this project would be preteens, teens, and young adults. And the reason that it's kind of a younger group is, if we look at the National Alliance of Mental Health.org, it says that 40 million people in the US suffer with anxiety, and 1 in 100 people deal with OCD. And most people that start experiencing symptoms of anxiety start as early as 7 years old. And so that is why my target audience is so young, because in this early stage of life, if you're able to start implementing these healthy coping skills, you're able to carry that with you throughout your life. And so later in life, it can prevent it from being such a big deal, or being more severe than it needs to be, because now that you have coping skills, it can, you can implement them more into your life, so preventing it from getting out of hand. My plan. So the next step for me would be to create some sort of solution, which I have thought of, and I thought that the best thing would be an app, specifically to help guide people through breaking their bad habits. Because from the research that I've done so far, I realized that breaking the bad habits is actually the hardest part. Because, like I said before, the first step is more just understanding when and why you're doing the things that you are doing. And the next step is to break the bad habits and bad things that you're doing, which is a lot easier said than done. And so I would like to create an app of sorts that would help kids to, or, preteens, teens, young adults to break the bad habits that they've developed. And through the research that I've done, I found that people found it to be the most helpful when they say things to themselves out loud, kind of reminding them that the fears, the anxieties that they're having are just in their head, and they are kind of being blown out of proportion in their own head. And it's really important to do things like that, like saying things out loud, because it's really easy to get lost in your own mind, and that is what tends to make our anxieties and fears and negative thoughts so much worse and so much scarier. And so I definitely want to implement the talking out loud piece, the kind of getting out of your own head, into my app that I would create, because I think that's very important. And also, my this project has been more geared to students, because that is what I am and what my peers are, so it's more relatable to us. But this app could be used for anyone dealing with these anxieties, and or OCD, or any other type of anxiety disorder, and need help breaking these habits. This can be for anybody who is dealing with that. So my motivation behind this project is because I myself have dealt with obsessive and anxious thoughts, and they are really disruptive during homework. I found that they are more so disruptive during homework. And you know, when you're having these thoughts, my first instinct was to try and control them in some way, which is very time consuming. And I found that I was just not getting a lot of my work done. And so I knew if I was dealing with this, there had to be other people too. And so I wanted to create a solution not only for me, but for others. And if there are people who are listening to this who don't deal with this type of thing, then I would hope that my research project was able to educate them in some way.